The Pittsburgh Steelers released 3 players beginning their offseason. They were the first team to cut anybody this year. And I think it showed a couple of things, starting with this team is very serious about change, but also maybe it's just a bit too early to judge where the Pittsburgh Steelers are going. What's going on, everybody? I'm Noah Strackbine. Thank you for jumping on to Steelers to Go, your daily to-go cup of Pittsburgh Steelers news and analysis. Find us on youtube.com/All Steelers Talkers. Subscribe anywhere you get your podcast. The Pittsburgh Steelers yesterday released Mitch Trubisky, Chuks Okorafor, and Presley Harvin III, clearing up roughly $12.7 million in cap space this season, getting them very close to that estimated 242 mark that they have to hit before free agency. And man, it looks like the Pittsburgh Steelers are wasting no time to sit around and say, okay, look, it is time to make some changes. It is time to have a game plan. It is time to execute that game plan. And it feels like in years past, the Steelers were, okay, well, we have to turn our attention to the NFL draft and the Senior Bowl and then the Combine, and eventually we'll come up with a game plan on how to eliminate cap space and clear up enough money to go make some moves, and we'll be fine. This year, it feels like the second that this season ended, there was no, well, we haven't gotten to that point in the evaluation process. Oh, we haven't gotten to that point in the evaluation process. It was, we're off and running. Meetings have happened. Coaching hires have happened. We will continue to work through our staff. But for right now, what we can do is clear enough space to know we can go make some moves. And they went out and they did that. And it was the easiest ones to make. Mitch Trubisky, everybody knew, was going to be a cap casualty this offseason. And I get it. It was mutually agreed upon to part ways. And hopefully, as a guy, I liked Mitch Trubisky as a human being. He was a joy and a pleasure to speak with. And, you know, somebody who was always very respectful to the media, and just to have a conversation with off the record, always a good time. Hope he finds a new home, and I think the Steelers feel the same way. Chuks Okorafor paid way too much money to be on the bench. There was no way they were going to sit around and say, this guy is remaining with the team, it's time to move on. Easy answer. Presley Harvin, bit of a shocker, I think, but a move that everybody saw coming or needed to see coming. Everybody preached to the masses, hey, it is time to find a new punter. It is time to get over these woes. It is time to give up on the experiment that is not working for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And they wasted no time in saying, okay, yeah, we're going to go do that. I would expect more moves to come in names like Allen Robinson and Keanu Neal. Possibly Patrick Peterson is in that mix, depending on how they view him, but he could be later in the year. But the Steelers are going to make the moves necessary to go out and create enough space where not only do they meet the floor, but they also have enough money to make a splash or two and say, hey, look, we have holes to fill. We have to fill these holes. This is no longer, we're just going to plug and play and find random guys and guys that we think, oh, well, they're good enough. They'll be here. They'll be starter capable. But rather, we have to go get guys who we believe can be long-term starters, long-term solutions for the holes that we have on this team. And I think that's where the Steelers sit right now. Is a couple of weeks ago, even a couple of days ago, you were sitting around talking about, well, the Steelers, they're going to have to make a move at quarterback, but you don't know what that move is going to be. Everything kind of feels very Steelers-like. This is a team that we know their history. We know how they operate. It's not going to be very exciting. It's going to be a lot of, come on, please do something big, but they're not going to do anything big. And then immediately the switch was, okay, they got rolling. And in years past, they wouldn't get rolling this hot. They wouldn't get rolling this easy. And you got to look at it and say, maybe this is a change. Maybe this is where the Pittsburgh Steelers begin to say, we have a plan that we are trying to execute, and that execution needs to start immediately. And you have to think that this is the second year of Omar Khan. In his first year, he did a lot, but it's his first year. You know, how much can you really get done? How much of a grip do you really have on things? You don't have the full year because he didn't have the full year to dive into everything and have a plan heading into the offseason. He had to begin that plan immediately. This year it was, I know what I did last year. I know the pieces we brought in. I've had a whole year to evaluate those pieces and see where we are and where we stand. Now it's time to not only create some cap space, but have a very detailed outlook of how this offseason should go for us and make it happen. I credit a lot of this to Omar. I think Omar is a guy who Steelers fans should have a lot of hope in and should have had a lot of hope in. A guy who has come out red hot when it comes to the NFL draft and free agency. A guy who has for a long time made a lot of money moves that you have looked at and said, Omar's a wizard, man. I don't know how he does it, but he continues to do it. Now he's in charge and he understands where this team needs to go. And he has a very, very detailed plan, I believe, to go and make it happen. And that's so exciting for the Pittsburgh Steelers. That means that they have an idea of how they want to fill their quarterback position. That means they have an idea of where this offensive line is going to go in 2024 and who's going to play it and what positions they're going to draft and what positions they're going to fill in free agency. It means they have an idea on how to get a second cornerback that can match Joey Porter Jr. It means they have an idea of the inside linebacker room and who their next starting safety is next to Minkah Fitzpatrick and what they're going to do with the contracts of Cam Hayward and TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith and Minkah himself. It means that guys like James Daniels and I don't know, whoever else needs a contract right now or heading into 2025 could get a contract and that they could look at it and just say, we're going to get this ball rolling. This is going to be a very fluid situation from here on out. Why? Because Omar Khan has such a tight grip on everything that he could say, all right, yeah, let's get it all done. It feels like a new Steelers. And it's felt like a new Steelers the entire time. And there have been moments, I mean, there was moments yesterday, 24 hours ago, where you were sitting around going, Ryan Tannehill and Desmond Ridder are your guys. That's your expectation. That's your, we are just going to go with those two when it comes to a quarterback outside of Kenny Pickett. You're just giving up that early. 12 hours later, 24 hours later, there are reports flying all over the place that the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be interested in Justin Fields and that they're going to go and try and at least make a phone call for Justin Fields and see what happens. It seems like the Steelers are all over the board, and that is such a good thing. This is not a, we're trying to make some nonsense happen. It is honestly the other way around, which is so exciting to be. Think about where you were a year ago, where the Pittsburgh Steelers were a year ago, and the conversations that you were having to other Steelers fans and just to those watching the Pittsburgh Steelers and the NFL in general. You were trying desperately to hype yourself up and to hype the Steelers up into making moves and going, they could do this. This guy's available. What if they went and grabbed this guy? This year, it's the total opposite. You are trying desperately to talk yourself down because you don't want to overhype a situation. You are saying things like we said yesterday. We went on a whole podcast about how, man, if it's Ryan Tannehill and Desmond Ridder and Kenny Pickett and those are your quarterbacks in 2024, you have already given up. You have not given a real effort into finding a quarterback solution, and you are looking at this and going, there's no way that we could be Super Bowl contenders this year. That's where the Steelers stand. When realistically, reports are flying out saying the Steelers are going to at least try to make a splash. And who knows what that splash is going to be right now because the Steelers are that unpredictable, but they're going to at least attempt it. That's a great place to be. You would much rather have to talk yourself down and say, let's temper these expectations. Let's not get too overly excited than to sit and go through an offseason and try and hype these moves up that will never happen. To try and say, all these things can go on and the Steelers can do all these great things when in the back of your head, none of them are going to come true. This year, if all you got to do is say, all right, let's relax. Let's wait until something's going to happen. But you have to say those things. That's a good place to be. The Pittsburgh Steelers are unpredictable right now. They have a detailed plan. I believe that firmly. They're ready to make things happen. They're ready to make some splash. They're ready to fill some holes. And that sense of urgency that Art Rooney talked up and then talked down and, backtracked himself into a hole a little bit, I think it's really there. And even if it's not there for Art Rooney, even if Art Rooney doesn't want to throw his coach under the bus or throw his team under the bus and that's what happened there, I truly believe that Mike Tomlin and Omar Khan are sitting around going, I would really like to try and win a Super Bowl this year. And I believe that we have the pieces to do so. And we're not going to wait anymore. This isn't going to be we'll get it done. We'll see what happens. It's we have to figure out a plan to go make it happen. That's exciting times for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And it kind of feels like that's where they are right now.